Okay, this is the black belt barrister. And this woman, Price, pleads guilty to a breach restraining order, but escapes custody. He's going to explain, and he's going to admit in his explanation that he doesn't know what the answer is. So he doesn't explain. And it's because men do not want to deal with the reality they live in. That there's this huge gender bias in the courts. There always has been, but it has just been expanding year after year. So we'll see what he has to say. Oh, before we start though, let me just stop here. I want to point out that guys like Mr. Pink and Yellow, he has a video, woman murders her husband with a hammer. Feminist media frames her as a victim. She wasn't just framed as a victim, they let her off early. And she brutally murdered her husband with 25 whacks with a hammer. And here's my video where a woman knifed a man after she found him in bed with a rival, moments after he rejected her. So it's obviously she was jealous and angry, and she avoids jail as judge rules she suffered a psychotic episode. I guess getting angry is now a psychotic episode. You see how the judges let women go off the hook. That's what's going on here. There's nothing else. So you guys know what's going on to start with, and we will see how he tackles this.
And thank you for watching. So many of you have asked me to explain why, as you've probably heard, Katie Price has once again avoided jail, despite pleading guilty to the breach of a restraining order, the breach which carries a maximum of 5 years in prison. The honest answer is, I don't know.
That's right. The honest answer is, I don't know. So it wasn't much of an explanation, was it? But I know, and I think he's a barrister, so he would know. He would see the difference, the sentencing gap between men and women, if he's been in this business at any length of time. So he has to be in complete denial. Now, I do have to allow the possibility that he does know and he's lying. But my money is on the fact that men just don't want to have to deal with the reality. If he's lying to himself.
The only way I can explain it to you is that the judge's comments said that he balanced the mitigating and the aggravating circumstances and decided that a medium-level community order would be the appropriate penalty.
Yeah, the judge talked about mitigating circumstances that Barrister doesn't know anything about. Why doesn't he? Because if there was any real mitigating factors, they would tell us why, and everyone would know about it. He'd know about it. The only mitigating factor here is that the perpetrator is female, and the judge, who's probably a male, I'm guessing, didn't want to put her behind bars. Here's the thing, Barrister. Judges love putting men behind bars, but they don't want to put the damsels there. Now, it's like I said, this has been expanding to the point now that we're seeing it. And of course, he's confused because he's seeing it and he wants to be in the denial of what's going on. Okay, but explain what she's guilty of.
Now, bearing in mind that she was already on a 16-week suspended prison sentence and had been banned from driving for 2 years because she admitted to drink driving whilst disqualified without insurance and had a crash in her car near her home, I thought I would just explain the normal situation when one...
Okay, you know she was guilty of something and she breached it and the judge just wanted to put her behind bars. He talks about the normal situation, but in order for him to say this, he would have to explain how this situation is abnormal. And the only abnormal thing about this situation is that the woman get off scot-free. Okay? So he can't really explain how it's abnormal beyond that. Okay? He's going to admit to being confused.
order. Now, what I do find slightly confusing in this case is that the judge said, reportedly this is, by ITV, that the words used were highly offensive and inflammatory, so the breach cannot be considered minor. But in balancing the aggravating and the mitigating factors, the appropriate sentence was a medium-level community order. Apparently, Price had said she had misunderstood the order, the restraining order, which said that she must not contact, directly or indirectly, Miss Pentecost. Now, I fail to see how anyone can misunderstand that order.
Yeah, of course you do, because she didn't misunderstand it. She knew what she wasn't supposed to do, and she did it anyway. You see, he's confused everyone. I'm not confused, Barrister. There's nothing to be confused about. The judge, just like at the other videos I showed, did want to put this woman behind the bars, and so he made up an excuse not to put her behind bars. That's all that's happened here. She said she didn't understand, and he ran with that. He didn't believe it, but he ran with that. He said, oh, good, that's going to be my excuse not to put this criminal behind bars because she's female. That's all that's happened here.
Do so I frankly don't really accept that she didn't understood what that meant. And
good, I'm glad you admitted that. So what is the conclusion that you have to draw from this, since the mitigating circumstances turned out to be bullshit? Come on, dude, you live in the UK. It's one of the most misandrous countries around. I think India is the only one that's worse, maybe Australia. You live in a country where men can be arrested for looking at a woman on the transit now. You live in a country, Barrister, where a British MP wanted to use a murder as an excuse to make a 6 p.m. curfew for all men, including you. Like, why are you so confused? Now he's going to admit that this woman should have gotten jail time.
I would have expected a prison sentence in this scenario, but the judge has obviously been in the best place to consider all of the evidence, all of the arguments, and to
see. So he admits it, and because he's part of the legal system, he doesn't want to bash the judges. But again, if the judge knew something special, he would know what was special, because they would talk about the mitigating circumstances. There wasn't. Thank God, Barrister, I am not a part of the legal system, or that I'm trying to make money off my YouTube channel, so I can be truthful. This judge doesn't want to jail women. He doesn't belong on the bench. And there has to be a massive changeover. All the trad cons need to be kicked out of the legal system and have fair and minded people in it. People who actually believe in gender equality. That's what needs to be happening. And this is what you need to say. Because right now, the UK legal system is an embarrassment. It's shameful. That judge should be ashamed of himself. And any man who cries ignorance about what's going on, okay? Oh, yeah. One last thing before we go. One thing I do like about the Barrister's channel is that the Barrister is living proof that men don't want to work for a living. All these guys who talk about being a hard worker and I want to work and all this is bullshit, because as you can see, he's shuffling out 2, 3, maybe even 4 videos per day. So Barrister is looking at his drudgery job as a barrister and looking at YouTube and saying, just giving my opinion on YouTube is so much easier and enjoyable, which I agree it is. So he's going for it. And I say, good luck for you, Barrister. I hope you make it. I hope you don't have to work for a living. I hope you don't have to deal with the drudgery of their barrister's job. Look, he even has another channel, Black Belt Secrets. I think his wife has a channel too. So they're both just like, yeah, we're working together so we don't have to work for a living. We can just be celebrities on YouTube. Don't blame you. And thank you again, because I like it when guys admit they don't want to work for a living, because it's a bullshit narrative anyway. Thank you, Barrister. We'll end it here.